the recording. Yes. Again, good morning to all, dear participants. In the last, not I am talking about the last lecture, in the very few last week, I had discussion on one of the important first chapter in the prose section, and that is an essay by Mulkraj Anand, and that is an importance of English, right? As we already discussed about this chapter, that we have various types of taboos, right? Various types of taboos created in the field of teaching and learning. And one among that taboo is teaching and learning, right? That is also one taboo which created before independence, especially about the continent of Asia, and especially with this country, right? Let me share my screen. Please, everyone, mute yourself, okay? Please. Yes. I think it is visible for your side, right? And in the very last lecture, we are talking about that important treatise, Rights of Man by Thomas Paine, and how it published in two parts in 1791 and 1792, and at the same time, how it collaborate or how it's closely associated or related with the French Revolution, right? The importance of French Revolution is really enormous for the sake of our rights, our duties, right? So this is the important historical movements for the sake of literature, for the sake of history of the world, right? Then we talk about monarchy. As I already told you, in India, we have the democratic system, what we call the Lokashahi Paddhati, right? And we always used to say democracy is all about by the people, for the people, of the people, right? लोकांनी लोकांचे लोकांसाठी चालवले राज्य, that is called democracy. And in our democracy, one of the biggest democracy in the world, we have the important constitution. In the last lecture, we thoroughly discussed about the details of constitution, how many members are there in that committee of constitution, who is the architect of our constitution, how many parts are there, how many schedules are there, right? So no need to repeat the things, but the most important about our fundamental rights, and that is in the article 12 to 13, and especially include in the third part in our constitution. And we discussed about our that what we called rights. Then in today's lecture, we have to start the new paragraph with the another references by Mulkraj Anand, right? So let's start. Why not I take the last line? Then it is really easy to connect with the last lecture. Aware of the difficulties in transmitting the new knowledge of science and technology, medicine and law, which was in English, German and French. Yes, obviously, we already discussed thoroughly about these things, that most of the knowledge in the field of science, medicine, laws, technologies are available in the language of Europe, especially English, French, German. These are the languages, Spanish, these are the languages from European continent, right? So basically the original resource or original resource references are available in these languages. They were also annexes to maintain the unity of the country in view of formation of states on the basis of different languages. Yes, that is the thing related to European continents. They are very much careful about their languages. Then we can easily raise the question, if they are very much curious, if they are very much eager about their languages, then why should not we should be created, or we should be close to our languages? But you have to understand one important thing, that Mulk Raj Anand is not talking at all about uh, decreasing the value of local languages. He always used to say our languages is important because that is the sole languages, that is our language at all, right? But for the sake of knowledge, for the sake of science and technology, or accepting the global political awareness, economical awareness, why should not we accept the other languages too? That's the point by Mulk Raj Anand, right? The mother tongue was to be used for village, taluka, and municipality governments, as also in executive work of state governments. This is the situation in India, right? How we can easily find, or we can observe easily, that in our village level, in our taluka level, especially the regulatory systems, the administrative systems. Suppose, just take the example of our village. We have one administrative system there. We have that Gram Panchayat, right? And the important person, that is called Sarpanch. We have municipalities, right? In the various talukas and various districts, right? So these are the bodies formed by government. And why? Because of implementation of the local languages. Generally, in these municipalities or in these bodies, we used our mother tongues. For example, if you visit to a particular Gram Panchayat, they cannot, or they couldn't talk with you in English or Hindi. They easily understand our mother tongue, and they use mother tongue as a communication language. But what about the metropolitan cities? In For example, just take the example of Mumbai, Pune, Nagpur, and Nashik. These are the four most important metropolitan cities, right? Here, the people generally used various languages for the sake of communication, right? So that's the point I want to elaborate in this line. Then Hindi was to be used for interstate communication. This is the analysis, or this is the what we call levels, which used by speakers, which used by communicators. As I already told you, in the level of village, taluka, and district, we have our mother tongues as a vehicle of knowledge, right? We have our mother tongues as a vehicle of knowledge. But what about the metropolitan cities? In the various metropolitan cities, or for the sake of interstate communication, this word is important, interstate communication. For the sake of interstate communication, we have Hindi as a vehicle of emotions, it's a vehicle of expressions. For example, one person belongs to Uttar Pradesh. They can easily understand Hindi, not our mother tongue. In such times, or in such crucial times, we used Hindi as a medium of our expression, our emotion, our feelings. Means, for the sake of interstate communication, this word is important. For the sake of interstate communication, we used Hindi as a medium. And what about English? Obviously, for the sake of international communication, for the sake of nation to nation, right? We used English as a source of, or as a tool of communication. Then, while English was meant for interstate and international relationships, then what about English? In our new education policy, which presented by this government, we have so much importance for our mother tongue for the sake of primary education. But at the same time, we have three language formula. The first language is our mother tongue, the second language is obviously Hindi, and the third one is English. In the universities or in the college level, it is most important language, English, not for the sake of just communicating, day-to-day communication, face-to-face communication, but for the sake of getting or gaining the knowledge, right? Therefore, in the interstate communication or for the sake of international relationship, we used English. Why not you just take the example of our South Indian states? Basically, I'm talking about Kerala. You know what? Just like Marathi as a mother tongue of Maharashtra, we have Malayalam as a mother tongue of Kerala. But the problem is we cannot speak Malayalam and they cannot speak Marathi. That's the problem. Then you can easily say, why not we use Hindi? Actually, we Maharashtrian can use Hindi, but these people, Malayali people, cannot speak Hindi at all. So that's the problem. Then how can we communicate with these people? In such time, we have English. They can easily speak English. Basically, people belongs to Kerala, Pondicherry, Delhi, they can easily speak English. Then why cannot we? We should speak English. Then only we can communicate with these people. That's the example in our country. But what about the other countries? The people belongs to different parts of the world. They are joined, they are intermingling with these languages, right? You know what is the work of language? Why language is important? Language is important because language can carry our emotion, right? Language is simply the vehicle of our emotion, feelings, and expression. Without a particular language, we cannot express our emotion. That's the general thing. But apart from that, we have the thorough and so much importance of language in our day-to-day life. Because if we are not able to handle a particular language in a good way or in a best way, we cannot perform our duties at all, right? We cannot perform our duties, anyone. So that's the importance of language, any language. I'm talking about any language, okay? Next paragraph. Unlike Japan, China, and Russia, these are the what we called developed countries, right? Developed countries. Unlike Japan, China, and Russia, which have established commissions. This is important point, right? Which have established commissions of several hundred translators. You know what? These three countries, especially, actually there are lots of countries, but generally the most important three countries, Japan, China, and Russia, they formed the committees, they established the commissions. For what? Commissions for what? Commissions for the sake of translating the literature, translating the world literature into their languages. You can easily imagine, just imagine that thing. Suppose, excuse me, suppose one important book is there in English, okay? Just take one common book, okay? Nowadays, the students are very much curious about that one important book, The Alchemist, okay? Paulo Coelho, that is the writer of that book, Alchemist. And suppose you are not able to understand that language of writer or not able to understand that particular English language. then you are you can easily deprived with that particular book, that particular knowledge. Then what is the solution? The solution is translations, and therefore such countries are taking very much efforts on the field of translations. But if you want to translate a particular work in your language, at least you have to understand that language. At least you can understand, or at least you have to thorough understanding of that language. Then only you can translate in your own language, right? So that's the part I want to tell you. Commissions to several hundred translators to render books of knowledge and literature into their national languages. Yes, that's the point. They can, why they establish the commissions? Because they want to translate the other work, the other knowledge in their, or in their national or in their regional languages. So that's the what we call intention behind these commissions. Next line. India has not yet involved a central commission or state commissions for the rendering into our bhashas. Okay, nowadays we have that commissions. Okay, nowadays means in 21st century, yes, absolutely, we India have such types of commission for translating the literature. But we are talking about before 2-3 decades. That time we don't have such type of commissions. Okay, we don't have that type of commissions, and actually there are so many reasons for these types of delays. First of all, you can easily understand we are not very much interested in the field of education, right? Agriculture is our root, India's root, right? Therefore we are not very much interested in the education field, in the science and technology, and therefore we are not accepting such type of European concepts, right? So that's the part I want to tell you. Then, but till today we have such commissions, we have such bodies, such group of people formed by various states and central commissions also, right? Then India has not involved a central commission and state commissions for rendering into our bhashas. They directly use that particular word. Actually, this is not just a word. This is a term. T-E-R-M, term. Term is important word for the sake of literature. You know what? There are various terms in the English literature. Why we are talking about just English literature? In any literature, we have multiple terms. For your understanding, just take the example, one term. We can take one term. In English literature, we have one term called aestheticism. Aestheticism, that is the term in English literature. And this is not the term only belongs to English literature. In Marathi also, we have that term, what we called Saundarya Shastra. That is called aestheticism. And this aestheticism is closely related or associated with the language. This is the beauty of language, we can say. We have to decorate our language. Na? We cannot just, for the sake of communication, we cannot use the day-to-day language anywhere. You know what? In between the language, there are various languages. Listen carefully and try to understand the concept. In between the language, okay, in between the language, we have various languages. How? Our day-to-day language is different, right? When you used to write your answer paper, your answers in your examination, that language is different. Getting my point? That language is different. When you used to write a particular article, particular essay, particular column in the newspaper. That language is different. When you used to create a particular newsletter, that language is different. The language in letter is different. Getting my point? In between the language, we have various languages. Okay, various languages. Therefore, this is called the decorating the language, and that is called aestheticism. Okay, this is for your examination, or for just take this example for your better understanding. Now turn toward this exact term, and that is bhasha. Here they didn't use the word languages. You know what? Mulk Raj Anand can easily use this word, na? Suppose he used English as the language of expression, then why he used that particular word? And that is called bhasha. Because this word bhasha is a term. Term means the most important word which have multiple meanings. Getting my point? Yes. Then we have language scientist in our country. Not in our country only, in the world. We have the people who always make research on the languages, not only English, languages, various languages, dialects, right? Just take the example, Dr. Ganesh Devi. You should remember this name, okay? And you should aware with these names. Dr. Ganesh Devi. He is the person who always work on the various dialects, various languages. And then only he called as language scientist, bhasha shastrajna, or linguist, what we call, right? So that's the part I want to tell you related to this term bhasha. Commissions for the rendering into our bhashas the essential books of modern knowledge and sciences, medicines, surgery, and commerce. You know what? Why there is the need of such types of commissions? Actually, yes, obviously, there is need of such type of commissions. But why? Because of translating the knowledge in the field of modern science, medicines, surgery, and commerce. Because these are the fields, basically their original novel or original knowledge, their reference materials included or available in this language called English. Therefore, we have to translate that material into our national languages. Then our common masses, our common people can easily understand or can easily get that knowledge. Render means what? Render means thoughtful. Okay, render means thoughtful. Then move to the next word or next paragraph. If then impetuous populist, impetuous, this new word is there, impetuous. Impetuous means what? On your screen, listen carefully, or zoom. If you are if you used mobile, I think sometime you face little bit problem because of this wording, so you can zoom it, okay, on your mobile screen. Just take this fourth word on your screen, impetuous. Impetuous means what? Actually in English, impetuous means impulsive. Then the question is, impulsive means what? Right? The next question, impetuous means impulsive, and impulsive means what in Marathi? What we call utavil, eager to do a particular thing, that is called impulsive. Utavil, एखाद्या गोष्टीसाठी उतावीळ होणे. Exactly, right? If then impetuous populist leader, famous popular leader, okay? If then impetuous populist leaders like Mulayam Singh Yadav, here Mulk Raj Anand presented one example, especially from Indian politics. Okay, this is the example related to Indian politics, and I think most of you can easily recognize this person, Mulayam Singh Yadav, right? If then impetuous populist leader like Mulayam Singh Yadav get the legislatures to pass a law to abolish the use of English in government works and education or information, you know what? 2, 3 new words are there. The first one is impetuous, means impulsive. The second one is legislature. Legislature means what? Anyone? Legislature? Especially in the, hello, sorry, again, what? Legislature means what?
Lawmaker.
Lawmaker, exactly, right? But not exactly that word. In Marathi we used lawmaker means those who created the laws, ज्याला आपण म्हणतो की कायदा बनवणारे. But I want exact particular name. Who is the lawmaker? I mean to say, who is the lawmaker? Our representatives. That answer I expect. Our representatives. That is called lawmaker, right? Means our representatives called, they sit in assemblies, in Lok Sabhas and Rajya Sabhas. They make the laws, na? Therefore our representative called legislatures. Okay, कायदे मंडळ किंवा कायदे बनवणारे असं आपण त्यांना म्हणू शकतो. Then what happened in that incident? Populist leader like Mulayam Singh Yadav get the legislature to pass a law to abolish the use of English in all government work and education. Okay, why this example is important? Because that time this person, this what we call politician, Mulayam Singh Yadav, he's that time he is, I think, the chief minister of Uttar Pradesh, biggest state in our India. Okay, he is the chief minister that time, and he took one decision. That's the another part. This is good decision or bad decision, that's the another part. But just try to understand his decisions and then you decide, is it good or bad? Okay, he get the legislature to pass a law, means he pass a law. Pass a law means त्यांनी काय केलं, एक विधेयक पास केलं विधिमंडळामध्ये. विधिमंडळ ज्याला आपण म्हणतो लेजिस्लेचर हॉल, लेजिस्लेचरी विधिमंडळ. तर विधिमंडळामध्ये त्यांनी काय केलं, एक विधेयक पास केलं. अँड दिस लॉ इज अबाउट व्हॉट? दिस लॉ इज अबाउट टू यूज ऑफ, to abolish. Abolish means what? Abolish means cancel, abolish means destroy, abolish means to decrease. एखाद्या गोष्टीची किंमत कमी करणे, that is called abolish. किंवा एखादी गोष्ट नष्ट करणे, that is called abolish. And this law is passed in the Uttar Pradesh Assembly, and this is all about to abolish the use of English in all government works and education. Means this law is about abolishing the use of English in the government offices, abolishing the use of English in the education field. Now you decide, is it good or bad? Actually, you know what, some offices are there in our country, right, in our country, where we deliberately used English language. Why not we just take the example of our judiciary? Judiciary means what? Nyaya Vyavastha. Our courts, district courts, especially I am talking about that high courts and supreme courts. In the high court and supreme courts, most of the lawyers, most of the judge used English language. Why? Because their penal codes, okay, their what we call articles. Till today, we followed that British articles. Indian Penal Code, right? You can easily understand these words. Indian Penal Code. According to Indian Penal Codes, this person have that much of punishment, right? So that Indian Penal Code is in English. Therefore, in such offices, they have to use English as a language of communication. But this politician like Mulayam Singh Yadav, they make a law, they pass the law because of their majority. Because of their majority, they pass the law that we have to abolish English in various offices, in administrative offices, and also in the education. I think this is the wrong turn taken by a particular person. How it is the wrong turn? Because how can we abolish a particular language in our day-to-day life? We cannot, because this is the same example, okay, used for that South Indian people. They also abolish Hindi in many ways in their day-to-day life. Okay, next line. They are depriving the new kids or cadres of knowledge, information, and culture available so far only in English language. And what is the impact of such type of we can say such type of silly norms or silly uh, laws created by politicians? We created so many problems, or it created so many problems. How? Because of abolishing the language, so many students, the young generation is depriving. In the last lecture, I am already told you the meaning of depriving. Depriving means what? Depriving means टू लेफ्ट आउट किंवा एखाद्या गोष्टीपासून वंचित ठेवणे, एखाद्याला वंचित ठेवणे एखाद्या गोष्टीपासून, राईट? सो it is one type of crime created by or making by those people, because we are depriving a particular generation, especially the school children, for or depriving about what? Depriving about the knowledge, because knowledge is available in English, most of the knowledge. So it is one type of crime doing by such politician. They are depriving the new cadres of knowledge, new branches of knowledge. They are depriving these young generation to new branches of knowledge, without which new generations will grow up ignorant. And what will happen? What is the result? Ultimate result? Because of depriving these types of new branches, depriving these types of new grades of knowledge, this new generation become ignorant. Ignorant means what? Adnyani. This new generation cannot understand all the things in the world. They called ignorant. And you know what? Divide and rule. That's the one type of slogan for these rulers. Britisher used this strategy, divide and rule. Foda आणि राज्य करा, divide and rule. And till today, unfortunately, these rules working in our society, divide and rule, right? Generations will grow ignorant of the encyclopedic knowledge which the world has piled up since the 15th century Renaissance in Europe. And it happens in the 20th century. Okay, it happened in 20th century. But you know what? These things created so many problems in the education field. We cannot get exact European or most important knowledge time to time. That's the important point. Okay, I think our time is over, recording time. So in today's lecture, we have to finish this essay. In tomorrow's lecture, we have to finish this essay, and day after we will start our poetry. Okay, so I think it is enough for today's lecture. If you have any question, you can ask. Anyone?